to a point now where they had to go and hire a CIA guy to come up with the worst thing that they could possibly find about him. And what they found was that he was a nice guy.
Justin Baldoni is facing criticism not for scandal or misstep, but for simply being too nice of a guy. In Hollywood, this is being labeled as toxic positivity, as if displaying kindness and optimism has become a crime. But why is this backlash happening now, and who stands to gain by turning his genuine positivity into a controversy? The smear campaign against Baldoni has only just begun, and the stakes are incredibly high.
What's clear in Blake Lively's complaint is they do exactly the opposite. They go out and intentionally fabricate stories, create smear campaigns.
The whole mess started in the most Hollywood way possible through a carefully crafted PR strategy designed to turn public opinion against Justin Baldoni. And who's behind it all? Blake Lively's team, duh. The exact same team that's been pulling every dirty trick in the book to make sure that Baldoni is the villain in their ongoing legal battle. This time, they've introduced a new term to the drama: toxic positivity.
There's mixed reports and mixed kind of experiences of people who worked with this team. So I have a quote board for you. Someone said it was constant positivity all the time. I would say toxic positivity.
Yeah, being too happy is apparently a crime now. The media has jumped on it like a pack of hungry crack wolves, with the New York Times and the LA Times leading the charge. Former employees from Baldoni's company, Wayfarer Studios, have been quoted in these stories whispering about how his relentless optimism felt phony. One even claimed that his feel-good energy was performative, as if his kindness was some sort of branding strategy rather than genuine care.
LA Times, they're the ones that did the real work, the CIA work, to get to the bottom of this very apparent flaw in Justin Baldoni's character. And I gotta agree, because when I watch his videos, I'm like, my cousin is way too positive. It's toxic, and I never thought that this could be a term.
Oh, and the so-called evidence against him? He encouraged employees to keep things positive, to sign their emails with uplifting messages, and oh my God, get this? He once filmed himself giving clothes to a homeless guy. That's it. That's the scandal. Just imagine working in Hollywood where actual toxic behavior runs rampant and deciding that this is the hill you want to die on. The absurdity is almost laughable if it wasn't so pathetic.
They're not. Their egos are too big.
They're not smart, Stu. If they were smart, they would have settled. They're not smart.
And it's $400 million.
It's funny because Justin Baldoni sued him for just over what they're worth.
Really?
Naturally, the timing of all of this isn't random. It's happening right when Baldoni and Lively are locked in a bitter legal fight. Coincidence? Not a chance. It's textbook PR warfare. When a lawsuit starts getting messy, the best way to win in Hollywood isn't necessarily in court, it's in the press. The moment headlines start shifting focus from the real issues to something ridiculous like toxic positivity, you know somebody's PR team is working overtime. And look, that's exactly what's happening here. Baldoni went from being a respected actor and filmmaker to suddenly being framed as some kind of a positive tyrant. The messaging here is clear. He's too nice, he's too uplifting, and he's too good to be true. And if people start believing that, it makes it easier for the other side to paint him as the bad guy.
This issue of bullying and false allegations, a lot of people have dealt with bullying, and maybe some also with false allegations, seemingly false.
Being too happy is the new Hollywood crime, and Justin Baldoni is the latest person on trial for it. The term toxic positivity is being thrown around like it's some kind of a shocking revelation. But what does it even mean? It's the idea that somebody is so positive, so upbeat, and so relentlessly optimistic that it becomes a problem. The argument is that it can make people feel like they're not allowed to express real emotions, as if any negative feelings or struggles need to be swept under the rug in favor of good vibes only.
Honestly, there were many instances on set where I just let the women figure it out, and I took a step back.
There's a fine line between creating a positive work environment and forcing happiness down people's throats. Now, some believe that when a boss is always cheerful, it puts pressure on employees to match that energy even if they're struggling. It can feel fake, forced, and even exhausting. Now, that's the case being made against Baldoni, that his kindness wasn't real, but some sort of branding exercise to make himself look like the ultimate good guy. But let's be real, since when has Hollywood cared about actual workplace issues? This is not an industry known for prioritizing employee well-being. It's a cutthroat business where screaming bosses, insane work hours, and straight-up harassment have been normalized for decades. Yet suddenly, a guy being too nice is an issue everybody's talking about. The timing is just way too perfect. Now, of course, this is all coming from the LA Times, which is treating this like an exposé, when in reality, the biggest accusation they could dig up is that Baldoni asks his employees to sign their emails with "so much love." Oh my god, the horror! If anything, that sounds like the most wholesome scandal ever. That's like somebody saying Mr. Rogers was too nice. But that's also exactly why it's so obvious that this isn't about workplace culture, it's about turning Baldoni into a villain in the court of public opinion.
Somehow, the New York Times gets a hold of it, okay? A private complaint, should have remained private suddenly.
This whole situation isn't just about a lawsuit anymore, it's a full-blown PR war, and Blake Lively's team is playing to win. The legal battle between Lively and Baldoni was already messy and sloppy, but with the way things are unfolding in the media, it's clear that this is just as much about perception as it is about anything happening in court. When the headlines are strategically shifting the narrative, you know there's a team of professionals pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Blake Lively's PR team has introduced a new term to the lexicon. It's called toxic positivity. They're using that now in the press to describe the real-life horror.
Baldoni and Lively were once on the same side, collaborating on a film project, but things fell apart spectacularly. The lawsuit that followed could have been handled quietly, but instead Lively's team has turned it into a public spectacle. And in Hollywood, that's not an accident. The media story suddenly painting Baldoni as toxically positive didn't just appear out of nowhere. These things are carefully placed, strategically leaked, and designed to sway public opinion.
Blake Lively, if she was sexually harassed to such a degree in this film and in this situation, she wouldn't have returned to the film.
There are whispers that Lively's PR team includes some serious power players, people with deep connections in the industry, and even former CIA operatives. Yeah, sounds super dramatic, but this is Hollywood, where PR is just as important as talent. And the goal's obvious: tarnish Baldoni's reputation just enough to make him look like the bad guy while keeping Lively's image spotless. After all, this lawsuit has the potential to get ugly, and controlling the narrative is everything.
And I took the relationships with my mother or my sisters or my children and my feelings, and I mean, it's all over this film.
This kind of PR manipulation isn't new. We've seen it time and time again in celebrity feuds, where one side slowly gets villainized through a series of conveniently timed leaks and media reports. Baldoni is being framed as a fake nice guy, and Lively's team is making sure that story sticks. Meanwhile, the real details of the lawsuit, the ones that matter, are getting buried underneath the noise.
They're using that now in the press to describe the real-life horror of what it's like to work for Justin Baldoni. I'm not kidding.
The internet's not buying this one. The moment the toxic positivity accusations against Justin Baldoni hit the news, social media exploded with people calling it one of the most ridiculous smear campaigns in recent memory. And honestly, how could they not? In a world where actual abusive bosses and toxic workplaces are everywhere, this is what the media chooses to focus on. Twitter, or X, or a waste of investment, whatever Elon wants to call it these days, has been dragging this entire thing. People are joking that Baldoni should apologize for being too nice. Memes are flying around with captions like, "Lock him up, he told me to have a great day." The sarcasm here is off the charts, and the consensus: this is one of the weakest PR-driven attacks Hollywood has seen in a while. What makes it even more frustrating is the blatant hypocrisy. If Baldoni had been short-tempered, moody, or a nightmare to work with, these same ex-employees would be running to the press with stories about how he created a toxic work environment. If he'd been too cold or too distant, they would say that he wasn't supportive enough. No matter what, the headlines would have been crafted to make him look bad. So, what's your take on all of this? Let us know in the comments down below.